So Chris, can you tell me a bit about the panel at Solar and Storage Live?
The panel was really exciting, and it was well attended. We had lots of people there, a lot of energy from the floor, quite a mixed set of topics, and so a bit of a challenge to make sure everybody got what they want. But we had Stu Horn on from Citizens Advice, and he's leading their energy program, and I think that was a great place to start, because it was about making sure that even if you're building the world's biggest infrastructure, the world's hugest batteries, you've got to remember that ultimately the customers are the ones that need to be happy and need to be excited and engaged and feel they're not being left behind. So we started really talking about what customers are going to want to see from the energy revolution, and that led on really nicely to talk about how energy systems changing really quickly, and every project has to ultimately keep the customer at the very heart of what they're doing. So that was a theme that was then picked up by the other panellists as we went through. It then sort of led to some quite interesting discussions about how you make that happen, and how you, particularly bringing electric vehicles onto a network, you're adding hundreds of thousands of mini power stations or mini batteries onto an energy system that's already quite complicated. You're making it infinitely more complicated. So we were talking then about the challenges that brings, and a lot of it comes down to data, comes down to information, and how you process and handle all of those hundreds of thousands of other extra little things sitting on your network. And one of the challenges we identified and talked about is that quite a lot of the operators have no idea what's actually on their system. Yeah. And given that we'd talked a little bit about Pivot Power's project at Arsenal, we ran with a football analogy where you can imagine managing a football team where you can't see half your players, the pitch is obscured by fog, 2 or 3 players may have fallen over, and you're asked to then manage that team, and that's just with 11. Imagine that with 11,000. So we then talked about the importance of the networks knowing what's on their system and going through that discovery process. And Jill Noel from Electrolink have been running a project with WPD called Electric Nation, and they were looking at trying to discover what greater numbers of renewables and EV charging installations on WPD's network, and they got some incredible results from that. There were another 15 or 16,000 things that realistically no one knew anything about. So in order to manage a system that's that complicated and that got that many parts effectively, you've got to know what there is, otherwise you've got no way of actually managing it. So we talked about the importance of the use of data and of asset discovery, knowing what you've got to play with effectively.
Okay. And what do you think the key lesson to take away from that panel was?
I think it comes back to 2 things, one of which is this is only going to get more complicated, and the more complicated a system gets, the more people have to play a part in it. Like anything, it's down to collaboration and doing that really effectively, very quickly, without any barriers. And also, coming back really to where we started, it's about making sure that customers and consumers are offered choices. Stu Horn said, look, this stuff's really exciting. People get more options, they get more things to choose, they get more control if they want it, or if they don't want it, they want simplicity. And it was about demystifying some of the kind of energy language. Matt Allen made the point from Pivot, saying he goes to talk to a facilities manager, and it's all sort of they don't understand energy speak necessarily, they don't understand acronyms, and that just means mainstreaming the whole thing and just having a really simple, straightforward conversation that everybody understands, and taking that theme, we're all speaking the same language, we all know what we're talking about, then that can only make the collaborative thing much quicker and much more effective.